For members of the British Airways Club, one of the biggest perks is lounge access. Certainly, gold status, where you get access to the first lounges. That's right, the first class lounges. Now, British Airways has four of these lounges. They have the first wing in Heathrow Airport Terminal 5. You also have a first lounge in Terminal 3 in Heathrow, a first lounge in Gatwick, and the arrivals lounge, which also doubles up as a first lounge. By the fact you need to be a gold member of the club to access that lounge if you're not flying first or business. Yeah, I know that's technically not branded as a first lounge, but it is in all but name. So why am I telling you this? Well, as we know, earlier this year, British Airways changed its system for loyalty, its tier point system, running the old distance and cabin down to spend. Now, to get to gold membership, it is £20,000 of spend. That is a lot of money. So, what I thought I would do was bring together my various experiences of the different lounges to show you what your 20 grand will get you and hopefully give you an indication of whether you think it's worth pursuing that kind of expenditure. So, yes, it's my ultimate guide to British Airways first class lounges. I will go through these one by one. I'll probably do it in chronological order, the times I flew through them. And we will start off this ultimate guide with Gatwick. Yeah, Gatwick Airport. Now, my Gatwick experience was fairly early on in my YouTube odyssey, so the video's a little bit cringe. I look back and you give a child some powder paint and they just throw things everywhere and it gets all over the place. You're like, yeah, that's great, just like Van Gogh. But this is old like 1080p footage, so please forgive me for being a technical luddite. The first part of the experience is the check-in. Now, Gatwick Airport does have a first wing of sorts. As you can see from these pictures, it's considerably smaller than the one in Heathrow Airport, and unlike the one in Heathrow Airport, it's not just gold members who get exclusive access. It's also the same for silver and bronze. We found that it can get really busy. There's been certain times when we've got there and it's just not absolutely heaving queues all the way into the terminal. It's been an absolute nightmare. There's also been occasions where we've actually gone in there and people within the economy section, the blue members, have actually managed to get through faster. On this occasion, it was fairly speedy, but don't expect a super service and anything like you would get in Heathrow. In fact, actually, you don't get anything special here at all. If you just go into the bag drop, it's probably actually a better option for a lot of people. So, yeah, this is certainly an underwhelming experience compared to the first wing in Heathrow, which I love. Okay, once you checked in, the next stage is security. Unlike Heathrow, where BA has the first wing, which has exclusive access where you walk straight through into the lounge, they also have the dedicated business section. So it's really easy and quick to get through at Heathrow. It's a bit of a trek at Gatwick. You just got to go up some stairs and along a corridor. And as you'll see, they have two sections, a fast track and a standard track. The fast track is not dedicated. All that happens is you just jump to the front of the queue, where there is a security guard who will basically let you push in front of other people, and also takes the front sections of where the belt is. So, yeah, it's nothing like the alternative at Heathrow, but hey, it's better than nothing, and you do get to skip the line. So, I think that's a pretty good option. And now we come to the absolute highlight of the Gatwick experience. Check-in and security, not great. But once you get to the lounge, I say once because it is a fairly long walk from security to get through to the lounge. You have to go. Well, you don't have to go up and down the stairs. There are lifts. But after traipsing through, you finally get to the lounge. Now, a lot of people know the BA has a first class lounge in Gatwick. As you'll see, you come into the main entrance, you turn right for the business class and left for the first class lounge. I really like this lounge. I love it. I've always liked the lounges in Gatwick. Actually, I've always preferred them. They've always been a bit quieter, and I'm not sure if they have different caterers or something like that. But I've always found the food to be considerably better. And I have to check. 'Cause I don't know whether they do this at Heathrow, but if you scan in the QR code, they will do some bespoke dishes for you, whether it's breakfast or lunch. I actually, when I've ordered stuff, it's been really good. I had some burger and triple cooked chips, which was really nice. And here is what my wife ordered, which was a poached egg. And bloody hell, it was amazing. Really good quality. Yeah, fair play to them. But as I mentioned, the lounge is usually really quiet, so it has much more of a kind of exclusive feel. Heathrow can get absolutely rammed. It's pretty much the same facilities, though. To be honest, you see, there's enough space for everyone to sit around. There's a little business section where you can do some work, quiet section. The food is what you'd expect. You obviously get your standard Union coffee machines, which I really like, alongside the pastries and biscuits. And if you didn't want to order something bespoke from the menu, there's always the buffet option for food, hot and cold. Not the biggest section, but a reasonable selection of different options. There's the usual booze, the obviously the beers, the Heinekens, the Speedbirds, the wine, the champagne bar. Great view as well over the runway, which is, I don't think you get that too much in Heathrow. It's a little bit sort of distant, so seeing some of the planes is really nice. And the other thing, of course, you've got the fully stocked spirits. I've never quite understood why BA has really nice spirits in the lounge, but on the air they tend to be pretty bad. In fact, actually, just having Johnny Walker whiskey is scandalous. So you might even want to take a hip flask along and top up with some Bullet Bourbon if you're on a night flight. But generally speaking, yeah, this was a really good lounge, really nice experience. I've loved coming through Gatwick Airport Lounge, so I say it offsets a little bit of the stuff involving getting through the gate and so on, but absolutely recommend it. That was Gatwick. I believe they've made some changes and tweaks to Gatwick Airport. I think they put in a new bar and maybe moved some things around. So I haven't actually been back to Gatwick since last summer when we went to Cancun. We should be going later in the fall or the autumn, not American, maybe to Madeira. I think it's quite an early flight, so I won't be boozing it up too much. Okay, so Gatwick was good. I thought the size of it, very intimate, which was excellent, really quiet. Now we move on to the flagship, don't we? Let's go on to the big one, the first wing in Heathrow Terminal 5. The first thing to know about the first wing is that it is way, way over on the far side of Terminal 5. This means if you're coming in by the Heathrow Express, perhaps, or the Tube, you're going to come out and you're going to have a long, long walk down the concourse. It is perhaps a little bit annoying that actually you could potentially even get through quicker using some of the standard gates, but that's not necessarily what it's about. The first wing is not just about speed, it's about the service. So anyway, so you can keep trudging along a few minutes until you get to the end, and then we face the entrance. Now, one of the best things about the first wing entrance in Heathrow is that it's completely dedicated. If you saw my review on Gatwick, BA does have a very sort of diddy, minuscule version of this wing, but it's not exclusively for gold members. So the bronze, silver, everyone can pile in there, and there's no bespoke sort of entrance after that. You just put your bags in, and then you go straight out into the throngs. This one is very different, but we'll come to that. Anyway, so you go through, you're always meted by a very nice person, and there's usually plenty of desks available, so you're not standing hanging around for too long. One tip, of course, is you're only allowed to bring in one companion. So as long as they're flying BA or a partner airline, this family tried to get in and they were turned away. So sorry about that, but yeah, try not to get caught out on the guest rule. Anyway, so you check in, you then have that dedicated security lane. So this is a private security lane, so just for first customers, absolutely brilliant. Whiz straight through, I really love it. Obviously, I can't take too many pictures of security for security issues, but once you are through, you then walk down this really funky corridor into the lounge itself. The ability to walk straight through privately into the lounge is amazing because when we were silver members and had to get the business class lounges, you'd have to go through security, standard security, well, fast track standard security, then down the escalators all the way around. So it took forever, but the ability to walk straight through makes it so seamless. Really good. There is, of course, a second entrance that you can access if you go through the traditional security, but not sure what the point is. Anyway, back to the lounge itself. Now, it is a very large lounge and it can actually get quite busy. As you can see, this is once you turn left past the initial bar area, you can go and find your little quiet spot. So, this is nice and relaxing. There's quite a good area for work. So, if you're a business person, need to do a bit of work, that's good. There's the main bar area here, which I often find is the best place to find a spot. You have the bog standard, I shouldn't say bog standard, the premium alcohol, beer, and of course the staple kettle crisps. So this is well stocked, exactly the same layout as in Gatwick, so nothing too exciting. These high stalls are quite good. I quite like them. They're a little bit out of the way, tucked away. Champagne, of course. Lovely champagne selection, step up from the business lounge. So that's one thing I'm going to definitely give in its favour. As you can see, the way it's laid out is a lot of sort of group seatings, single seating. So because there are a lot of solo travellers, space ends up a bit of a premium. So you probably might not have to be shy and ask somebody, is it okay if I sit next to you? But there's been so many times I've come into this place and it has been a struggle. When I said the main bar, I think I should have said this is the main bar in the sense it's manned, so or person, whatever you want to say. So you've always got someone there to serve you. The other one I prefer, actually, to be honest, because you just serve up your own drinks. Why would I get somebody serving me and judging me for having a couple of glasses of champagne too much? There's another bar in here. This is sort of a kind of a quiet section, somewhere in between the sort of business section and whatever. I don't tend to go in here because it's a bit out of the way. But yeah, so you then mosey on back. As you see, they usually have a selection of wines out on the counter, so that's good. Again, all pretty busy, lots of people around. And then you have the main food section, which is down to the right. You can usually find some space down here. This is another one I quite like. You can usually get the Union coffee, the pastries. Everyone that's flown BA knows exactly what they're going to get with this sort of outfit. The tea as well. That's always good. Water station. You got your fresh fruit. All that's good. Then, of course, more kettle crisps. You've got to bag those when you can. So let's talk a bit more about the food. We came at breakfast, so you can have your usual sort of porridge. This was new, waffle and pancake station. Haven't seen that before. Fresh fruit's always good. Then you have the main buffet. Obviously, we have our coffee machine there. Then we have the main buffet, which is, as anyone again who's flown BA knows, they love their cooked breakfast. So you've got mushrooms and toast and beans and black pudding. So that's all good. A little bit fresh fruity one. And another new thing they added was a bagel station with what looked like some fairly fresh pork or bacon cooked. Trouble is a bit like the waffle station. I'm not the biggest fan of waffles or bagels, so I took a pass. But it's good to see they are innovating. However, and this is a big downside on British Airways in Gatwick, there is no bespoke menu. As you can see from these pictures, these are just table service for drinks and basic stuff from the buffet. There is nothing bespoke. There's no way you can get a nice poached egg as we managed to get in Gatwick. So do not get your hopes up in terms of anything special off menu. And one other thing that has got the edge for Gatwick is the views of the runway. It's a very small lounge in Gatwick, but I really thought the views were great of the planes. You could see them coming and going. Heathrow, as you'll see here, probably not as good. Yeah, you can see a bit of action, but you're a little bit further away. And there's a bit more sort of blockage and paraphernalia on the windows and all that. But it is what it is. Anyway, so that was my experience. I prefer the first class check-in at Heathrow. That first wing is fantastic. I love going through there, real pleasure. And I'm going to probably miss it when we drop down to silver. But I'm going to say Gatwick has it for the lounge itself, being more intimate, more bespoke, and having that ability to have your own personalised food, like the poached egg, or when we had it before, the burger with triple cooked chips. The smaller, more personal nature of Gatwick Airport meant that I definitely preferred it to Heathrow First Wing. Aside from the grandiose entrance, the secret security lane, and walked in straight into the lounge. The lounge is first lounge in Heathrow, I should say, is very large. It's very sprawling. It has got quieter the last couple of times I've gone through it, so that's a bonus that it did get absolutely heaving, and often we might not even find somewhere to sit. But there you go. So these were the first two, and the third one, because I completely forgot. I didn't even know about this. So when I went through Heathrow Terminal 3 for the first time in forever earlier this year, what was it, February, I think it was. I just walked past the BA lounge because I just assumed it was the bog standard galleries lounge. No, there is a first class section in there. So let's look at the Terminal 3 first lounge. And this was a good surprise. It's almost the best of both. The best of the Gatwick Airport one, the best of the Heathrow Terminal 5 one. Anyway, check this out. Now, one negative point when it comes to Heathrow Terminal 3 is that it doesn't have the nice, shiny, spangling first wing entry like Terminal 5 does. That means you don't really get a nice, bespoke, personalised, secret entrance with its own dedicated security line and then go straight into the lounge. You are going to get what you expect, really, from run of the mill check in experience. One plus, though, is that the check-in for British Airways is pretty much dead centre as you walk in the door, so you don't have to traipse all the way down to the end of Terminal 5 as you do when you go to the first wing. Certainly if you get the tube or the bus like we do. Alas, no fancy pants check-in, but there is a dedicated section for first class travellers and gold members, of course. We were actually the only customers using the first check-in process, so it was a breeze, nice and simple, few minutes, and we were off to the lounge. I did cover the security process in Terminal 3 on my previous video on the American Airlines Cathay Pacific. There is a security fast track lane that you can use. Yeah, not much to say about that, so let's get on to the meat and potatoes of this, which of course is the first class lounge. The lounges in Terminal 3 are all grouped together on sort of sections C, D, E, F, and G, maybe. I kind of lose track. When I came in earlier this year through Terminal 3, I was a little bit confused because it doesn't have particularly alluring, enchanting look to it. You kind of, each of these, you basically kind of almost go down a rather uninspiring, dodgy looking corridor that could be in some kind of civic centre or a hospital. But in the case of BA, when you go through F, I think it was you straight through, and wow, I could just see from walking in here that this was a step up from the previous experiences I've had. There was a sleekness and indeed a chicness of the facility, certainly with the entrance, and I could just tell walking in because it was so quiet. It was like, oh, this is going to be fun. The first thing I noticed walking into the lounge was what a nice balance it has. On entrance, you're greeted right away by the champagne bar, which had a couple of champagne options as well as an English sparkling rosé wine. Yeah, not for me. I'll stick with the champers. And I have no idea what this guy was doing. He was either hiding, scared, or auditioning for the Blair Witch Project. I'm so scared. It's all my fault. And already we can touch on why I really like this lounge. It was, in the words of Bjork, oh so quiet. It was actually quite nice to have a seating area immediately around the champagne bar. It did make it feel like a little bit of a bar. But anyway, you turn right, and there's three sections of this. So we turn right, we have the obligatory coffee, the Union coffee. And on the left hand side of it was a children's creche. So nice for the families, nice for the kiddies. out of the way, nowhere near the adults. You then follow through into the main dining section. And I initially walked through a bit too fast, so I needed to point out on the left-hand side is the bar, and down the middle there is the first class dining experience, which I didn't go into because I'm a pleb. You know what you're going to get, don't you, in a BA lounge? Selections of salads, some nice hot food, usually some kind of saucy based dinner or a pie or something. Nowhere near as nice, I think, as the Cathay Pacific food, but it's passable. And if you quaff it down with some champagne, it takes away the pain. And yet another plus point for this lounge over Terminal 5, but not Gatwick, because Gatwick has them. It's the QR code where you can actually order bespoke food. Yeah, the menu isn't the most extensive in the world, but if you want something that tastes vaguely freshly cooked and isn't from the buffet, it's a reasonable option. A quick glance in the first dining room and the bar again, and let's head back over to the other side. As I said, this lounge is divided into kind of three sections. The middle section with the champagne bar and the coffee station and the creche. I'll show you that in a second. But I don't know whether it is more so that it's a longer lounge than a sort of big square sprawl. But it did feel like there was very distinct vibes in each of the sections. And this was May half term, so it was surprisingly quiet. So I'm not sure whether it's just that the traffic through Terminal 3 is pretty light, or whether the changes to the club has resulted in the culling of the gold members. I've got mine for a little bit more than a year. So on to the final section, and you have the obligatory wine bar in the middle with a decent selection of wines, and the tradition. You love it. We love it, don't we? The bar. We know all the beers, all the Speedbird beers and Heineken and the spirits. A trusted friend. That's the bar, not alcohol. At least not talking for myself. But you tend to know the score on these things pretty good. And again, pretty relaxed vibe. This is where the lounge houses the little business section as well as the toilets. Not a big fan of the toilets in Terminal 5. I don't like the sort of the boxy look. Kind of it feels a bit like a hospital or an asylum. But these ones were lovely and sleek, nice wood design, and they are gendered. If that's your kind of thing, don't get me wrong, these are nothing to write home about. They're not as nice as, say, the Dubai toilets. Oh, the Dubai toilets. But they're certainly a step up, a little bit of a step up. And actually, one thing that this lounge has as well is, and I didn't see this, but a little sign on the door. They even have a urinal section. So for anyone who's a gentleman who or can urinate standing up, it's a good option to have, because sometimes those toilets can get quite busy in Terminal 5. Now, I thought this was a great lounge, certainly in terms of the London offerings from British Airways. The attention to detail, the artwork was all quite distinct, the different feels, and they're like little nooks and crannies and different places for people to sit. So there is pretty much something for everyone. Obviously, the food and champagne is the what you'd expect. A little bit of a brief look out on the runway. I think you might get a better view in the first class dining section. And out of the Terminal 3 offerings I've been to, I think Cathay Pacific's clearly the best. I'd probably say this maybe edges American Airlines just for the aesthetic. But either way, yes, I am very surprised, pleasantly surprised with British Airways First Lounge in Terminal 3, the best kept secret. And I now have a few flights going through Terminal 3, so I very much look forward to experiencing this lounge whilst I remain a gold member for the rest of the membership year. There we have the three departure lounges, the three first class departure lounges that British Airways has to offer. Out of the three, I'm probably going to say Terminal Three's one was the best of both. It was the best of both. It was large enough and spacious enough not to feel too cramped. It had the little perks that the Gatwick one does, such as a bespoke menu. And it also had the first class dining section, a bit like what you get in the Concorde Room, I understand, because I've actually been there, in the Terminal 5. But yeah, if I had to rank them, it's tough. It's tough, but probably Terminal 3 would be the first top, then it'd be Gatwick, then it'd be Terminal 5, Heathrow. So that's that. But my gold membership also allows me access to another British Airways lounge, This is the Arrivals Lounge in Heathrow Airport. It does also get you an Arrivals Lounge in Terminal 3, American Airlines Arrivals Lounge, which was a really good lounge, but that's not British Airways, so we can't assess it on this video. Instead, let's take a little trip down memory lane and see what it was like when I went through the British Airways Arrivals Lounge in Terminal 5. If you are flying British Airways First or Business, you can access this rather helpful facility. The other passengers who can get in are gold card holders. You have to be arriving on a long haul business flight, British Airways flight, excuse me, or American Airlines Emerald tier card holders on long haul flights. Now, this lounge also has a unique feature that could perhaps embarrass you if you weren't aware of it. But unlike the business class lounges, or indeed first wing or any of those facilities, this is a lounge in which you are not allowed to bring a guest. So if you are a gold member and you attempt to bring in your other half, who might be a silver or a lowly bronze or even blue, they ain't getting in. So that might be a quite awkward situation. Bear that in mind, because you, when you head in there, fill your boots, go for a shower, and they just sit out there in the concourse, you may not be in their best books. The lounge is open from at a bright and breezy 5 o'clock in the morning and then closes at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Last time I went in, I double checked with the, as always, lovely staff there and said, "Is 2 o'clock? Is that like last entries or is it hard shut?" They said it was a hard shut. Everybody out at 2 o'clock. I haven't actually been there for 2 o'clock. I've always managed to get in and out within that time frame. But if anyone has been there at 2 o'clock, please do let me know and let us all know whether it is a hard and fast exit at 2 o'clock, or whether they give you a little bit of wriggle room, a little bit of leeway, say, you know what, you can finish your croissant on your cup of coffee or anything like that. But basically, in fact, actually, the problem with this lounge is that I don't really get to use it that often. If you are coming back from the States, and the States mainly if you're not going towards the West Coast, where some of those flights you might miss it, it really is a bonus for anyone flying mainly from the East Coast of America, because as you know, a lot of other places would fly in from Asia, whatever, you may not get there within that time frame. So it's maybe a little bit disappointing that they don't open it longer, but hey ho, it's their lounge. Okay, so then you are travelling in business class or first class, you lucky devils, you lucky rich devils sneering at me and my premium economy. But I got my gold card for at least one more year, so I can darken your lounges with my plebeian presence. But anyway, so if anyone gets off the plane, picks up the bags, it's a pretty straightforward walk through. Once you get through customs, you turn to the left out of the Terminal 5 arrivals exit hall, excuse me. And there are two options. One, you can get the lift. Now, the last couple of times I've tried to do this, the lift took for absolute forever. In fact, on my last, or the unpublished, the redacted video, original one, I was sat. Just you can see here now. I'm just standing there waiting for absolutely ages, which was a pain. I would suggest then instead you go a little bit further to the left and go up the escalator. That might get you there a little bit quicker. It's actually quite easy to miss this lounge. It's not necessarily particularly well signposted with lots of fancy pants, bells and whistles, but you have to know where it is. And in fact, actually, one time I was getting into the lift and a BA staff member was getting into it. "Excuse me, sir, I don't think you need to be getting in this lift. Are you lost?" And I said, "No, I'm a gold member. I can access the lounge." So she knew that I wasn't one of you. She knew I didn't belong. What the? She could have just perhaps seen the fear in my eyes. Once at the top of the stairs, or indeed once you're out the lift, it's pretty straightforward to get into the lounge. A little tip for you: if you have got lots of luggage or indeed some cumbersome bags, to the left hand side, this isn't always the case, but there is a bag drop off point, and they give you a sort of a little wooden key to keep while they look after your luggage. This is not the biggest lounge in the world, and it is divided perhaps into four main sections. So as you walk in, you have the main dining section where you have the selection of food and drink and so on. To the left hand side is where the toilets are and the business centre and a little spa-y type area. To the right's a seating area, which I quite like. I don't tend to sit there, but it is quite sort of calming and elegant. And then obviously to the to the far right, you have the shower facilities, which are on the whole pretty good, but I'll come to those a bit later. In terms of overall ambience, though, I do like this lounge. I think it's great. It's never busy. You're only really going to have a handful of people in there, and dare I say, unlike the others and the executive club and the double tier points and all this, it does feel quite exclusive in that sense. And actually, even within this arrivals lounge, there's the Concorde breakfast room that I have never ever seen anybody in. However, that is the exclusive bit of the exclusive bit. So perhaps one day I will get to sample it. In terms of the food and drink on offer, it is fairly limited and it is pretty much what you'd expect in the other BA lounges. From 5 a.m. through to midday, they have their cooked breakfast stand, which we all know hash browns, baked beans, sausage, black pudding, bacon, blah, 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 blah. So I'm saying that's, you know what's dependable, isn't it? Like an old friend, an old coat that keeps you warm in the winter, just knowing that there's a a mildly above average cooked buffet breakfast is always. In fact, sometimes actually what I do is I skip breakfast on the plane and just hold out as best I can. Maybe just have a little bit of fruit or something. Hold out to get to the lounge. And apart from that, you have the coffee machines, the beans, some cereal, some fruit and yogurt, and the usual stuff. All pretty much by the numbers, but acceptable and satisfactory. So that helps me. The booze on offer is just a bit of champagnes or sparkling wines or Bucks Fizz type stuff. I mean, obviously, I don't anticipate that. Bearing in mind the time frames of the openings, is that it's going to be a massive, massive knees up there. I'm sure perhaps you could ask for booze and alcohol if you wanted to, but then of course you risk looking like an alcoholic. It's fine when you do it in the morning and no one can see you, can they? No one can see you, but when you actually have to ask for it, that's when they shame you. That's when they shame you. They can look at you and they know. They know. It's medicinal. It's medicinal. Honestly, my doctor prescribed me a quadruple neat vodka for my flaky scalp. Yeah, honestly, no, I don't have the prescription or the medical note. Okay, right, fine. Thank you. Yes, lesson learned. Next time, I'll just put a couple of bottles of vodka from the plane into my pocket and do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, let's stop doing that. Once you've washed down once you've had your cup of coffee and a croissant and a cooked breakfast or whatever you need, you can then head to the showers. Now, this is probably one of the best perks of the arrivals lounge: the ability to freshen up, wash away those hours of grogginess and potential hangovers. I think I was when I originally filmed this one from October from Denver. I'd had maybe a couple of extra whiskeys and was feeling pretty ropey. All you need to do then is head to the right, the far right of the lounge, and there'll be a person on a booth or by a desk, I should say, and they will just take your board, look at your boarding card, and then give you a numbered and color coded shower cubicle to go to. Now, this has always been pretty quick for me. It's only one time out of all the times I've been coming through where there's been like a 10-minute wait. And I don't know why, because they got thousands of cubicles. Okay, they haven't got thousands, but they've got scores of cubicles, and I've never seen scores of people in there. My guess, my layman's guess, is that obviously they only have a handful of cubicles open and just clean between them and do a sort of little rota like that, rather than obviously having a ton of them all in operation at the same time. Okay, so when it comes to the cubicles themselves, it's a tale of two cities or a tale of two she. No, you can't swear, can't swear. So my October cubicle was really rough. It was very badly stained, mouldy, lime scale, ugly, UGLY. It didn't have no alibi. It's ugly. It was ugly.
However, the one in February was, well, it was exactly the same design, but it was considerably more pleasant, nicer, cleaner, and without the grime. The layout's okay. So you've got a couple of places to sit down and put your bags. Obviously, the toilet, the mirror, hairdryer. And as selection, I think you can obviously do an overhead shower. You can then do this the weird sort of spray out or stream out, which I've never quite understood and never did. But yeah, it's nice. It's pleasant. Water pressure has always been good. I've never had a problem there. But it's a brilliant chance to say get clean, freshen up, and that's good. There isn't a huge amount of toiletries or anything in there. They do have some shower gel and shampoo, obviously attached to the wall, so you don't have to worry too much about bringing in tons of toiletries or anything like that. A toothbrush and toothpaste and various other dental hygiene products are not on offer, so don't forget your toothbrush. As Chris Evans once said, no, not Chris Evans, Captain America, Chris Evans, the big breakfast guy, and all those other things he used to do. So aside from the food and the shower, the quiet area is say pleasant enough if you need to do some work or concentrate. That looks like a good option for you. The spa section, I'm not sure because they did close it during the COVID times, and I can't quite see whether it's up and running or it's not, or if there are those any facilities. Someone could probably tell me, but I don't tend to fly through here often enough. But the food, yes, the shower, the ambience, it's a pretty good lounge by all accounts. And having that no plus one and none of those silver members or general riffraff makes it a nice space, a safe space for all of us. Yes, I don't tend to come through here that often, mainly when I come back from the States. Also, let's say Gatwick tends to be the destination for you're coming back for say the Caribbean, and that doesn't have an arrivals lounge, or it's the best kept secret in the world because I've never found it. But all in all, I do like the lounge, and I enjoy using it. I enjoy freshening up and having a shower and having some food before the journey back home. Does break up the flight quite nicely. I hope I will be able to experience it and enjoy it. Of course, enjoy it a few more times before my gold status is degraded, it's taken from me because I didn't really earn it. All those double tier points. So I'm going to cling on for the last vestitudes of this lounge before it's back to sitting on the bus, the SL7 bus, smelling of sleep and jet lag and whiskey. Could smell like a homeless person. Or I suppose I could just get some wet wipes and go into the toilets and do it the way we used to do it in the good old days before we had the privilege of the lounges. There you have it. Anyone that is either flying first or has gold membership or is attaining or aspiring to grab that gold membership by selling a kidney or doing something illegal like robbing a bank. Can you rob banks nowadays? I guess a cashless society means that you would just fraud them rather than actually rob them. But yeah, if you are going for gold membership, this is what you can expect through flying through Gatwick, flying through Heathrow Terminal 5 and Heathrow Terminal 3, and then on a return journey to Heathrow. Thank you very much for listening to me and joining me on my little adventures around the world. If you want to hear more from me and see some of my content, please do like and subscribe. It's a big help, and I will hopefully see you very soon on another video.